Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with us this beautiful Thursday morning. You are tuned into Breakfast Central, and we are talking about Universal Children's Day. That was marked on the 20th of November, and it was a day which was established in 1954 by the United Nations to promote international togetherness and awareness among children worldwide. So teachers and parents stimulate their learners and children to think about their differences. It is the onus of the school and, of course, other educational institutions to make an effort to inform children of their rights and teach them the differences between themselves and others. I'm really looking forward to the discussion we're having today because I'm joined by Toyosi Gregory-Jonah, who's a fashion entrepreneur and business mentor, as we talk about the young ones, the future of Africa. Now, she's a mother of 2 boys and she is passionate about intentional parenting. Toyosi, welcome back.
Thank you, Vimbai.
You're becoming a regular on the show, which is very exciting. But I mean, I watched your last interview. I really enjoyed your insights, so I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Talking Children's Day, and you're passionate about intentional parenting. What is that, and what does that look like?
Okay, so I'm going to start from, how did I come about this, consciousness about ensuring that, my children grow up in a way that they're not thinking therapy when they're leaving me. I looked
that's
at it,
powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I looked at a lot of things that, happened to me as a child, how my parents handled certain things, and how I wish that they had handled it differently so that, it would affect my decision as I grow up, and I'm able to, equipped to actually make decisions on my own that, has no connection to some of the things that I, was exposed to then. So I started to say, okay, so Toyosi, this happened to you. How are you going to ensure that this doesn't happen with your children? Because after a lot of years, you came back to understanding these things. You started putting name to these emotions, and then obviously your parent didn't know, because a lot of things that happened back then was they just did what they, what they knew, and it had effects, adverse or otherwise, on most of us. So I decided, how can I do better? And especially because I have boys, and I see a lot of things that people say, the narrative about, boys get away with everything, they can do this, they can do that. I decided, no, I'm going to be very intentional about how I train my children so that they become these complete, emotionally aware people, so that when whatever it is that they're doing to people, they are aware of it, they know exactly what they're doing, so that they can make the right decisions at all times. So I'm very, when it comes to conversations, I give them an opportunity to talk. I listen to them, because in listening to them, whether it's gibberish, whether it makes sense, you're able to pick out things that are going wrong with them, which they normally would not come to explain to you. Maybe they can't even explain it. They don't even know how to, express it. So I allow them express themselves. I pick my battles. I'm intentional about the things that I get upset about. I'm intentional about the things I want to control, because if you're not careful with kids, when you say things like as little as shut up, you're literally taking away their confidence to communicate. So when things happen, they withhold information from you because, mommy is just going to say shut up anyway. So they don't come and tell you these things. So I decided I'm going to be their friend. I'm going to be that person. If they run into trouble, I will be the first person they want to talk about it to. So that even if they know that they're going to get rebuked or whatever, they know that they have a listening ear in me.
But Toyosi, what resources did you use to come to the awareness that, for example, saying shut up takes away a child's confidence? Because I think it's something we take for granted when we know the information, but a lot of people just wonder, okay, well, where do I begin with empowering myself with this information to know that, okay, this is how this behavior impacts a child? Because I think all parents want the best for their children. Sure. And a lot of the times, like we look at our parents, for example, and a lot of things that we feel could have been done differently, generally, they didn't do it to harm us. It was because that's what they knew at the time. Yeah. So what are some of the resources?
So I'm constantly learning online, talking to, brainstorm with other parents, and then I started, I think it actually started from looking inward. Because the truth is, if you don't know what is wrong, then you don't know what you're fixing. So I looked at myself, looked at the things that were, looked at my husband, and I'm like, okay, if this was done for him, this wouldn't have happened. Now I have boys, I have to be careful about this. I have to be, careful that I am not just winging it, because winging it means that every day you just, okay, however it comes, you're going to just do it. So I started to read up, took courses. I mean, not just because, because of my children, so that when you even have conversations with people, you can help other people. Sure. I mentor a lot of young people, so I needed to equip myself, because some of them, you need to understand why. Okay, if a child is rebellious, you have to go back to why exactly is this child rebelling. You need to understand the things that are behind the behavior for you to be able to help that child. So I started learning, started taking, mini courses here and there, just to, better myself, equip my brain, so that when I'm giving information from an informed point of view.
Now, and speaking of that, because I mean, I absolutely love how enlightened you are about this. And you have two boys. We live in this era where, especially the boy child has got a lot more consciousness to do, I believe, than ever before. We're looking at emotional intelligence. We're looking at teaching young boys about consent, about patriarchy,
control,
about so many things, because we're trying to redefine masculinity. As a mother, how do you package these things in a way that children can actually interact with them and embrace them, and it can become a part of their DNA?
Okay, so first of all, you have to understand that they're children, and each child understands things differently and at different, pace. So I pay attention a lot, and then I try to pick patterns. You understand? I try to pick patterns, and you understand that the kind of information I'm going to pass to you, and then you're going to be able to, process it. They won't. So it takes a lot of patience. You have to understand that they are children, they have different behavior. So each child, the process you're going to go through with each child is going to be different from another one. So it's important that you first of all understand that they are different, and then they are kids. You have to repeat some of these things. And then you also have to sit down and say, bite-sized information so that they can understand it. For example, with my kids, I have a 4-year-old who literally questions everything. If you, not too long ago, he did something and I just, shouted a bit. And after a couple of minutes, he came to me doing this, saying, my heart is broken into pieces.
Oh, my heart.
And I'm like, but you know what? When he came, I didn't feel emotional immediately. I asked him, I said, why, Asha? He said, Mommy, because you were angry and you shouted, and that's unlike you. I said, Asha, my own heart is also broken into pieces. So he explained why he felt that way. And I also explained. And that stems from the fact that I help them to put a name to the emotions that they feel, help them to express themselves. We don't believe that boys don't cry in my house. You can cry, you can break down. What you're not going to do is remain there. Because once you allow them process all of these things, when you're not there, when the situation occurs again, they're able to process all of these things, no matter how little they are. Because I mean, my son has begun to tell people, oh, don't do that because this is going to happen. So he understands this is the process. Mommy is saying don't do this because of this. You can't force things on them. So you need to explain. Be patient. Explain these things. When you're not there, they will use all of the information that you have equipped them with to make the right decision. That's why some people have children who behave well in their presence, in presence of their parents. When the parents are not there, they do something totally different. Most times not because they want to rebel, but because they don't even understand what you are stopping them from.
Why you shouldn't touch the hot stove.
Exactly. So it's patience, it's understanding, and it's thoroughly putting yourself into it. It's a lot of work.
Right? It sounds like a lot
But you
of
just
work,
need to be ready to do it, because then you have an idea, a vision of the kind of children you want to put into the world.
Yeah. And, I want to go back to sort of, shall I say, our generation and generations prior to us growing up.
Okay.
And I know there's a trend that broke the internet the other day when people were talking about African parents.
Okay.
And, because there's always so many skits, so many jokes you see on social media about, my African parents did this and so forth. And then somebody spoke up and said, guys, can we give African parents a break? Where do we draw the line with that? With the fact that, we are fortunate enough to have a little bit more exposure and so forth. But that traditional, what we call traditional African parenting is still rife and it's still happening. Is it a bad thing? Or, how? What is it we need to do to the children generally in our environment who, still go home to, I call them traditional African parents?
Okay, so... like I said earlier, there were some things that, we were exposed to as children, that now, because we are emotionally intelligent, we understand that, no, this wasn't good. I wish my mom didn't do this. Because she did this happened. But honestly, because now I'm a parent, I understand that a lot of the things that they did, they had good intentions. Some of it just didn't pan out right. Some of it was, what they also inherited from their parents. I've said to my son that if I train you guys the way my mom trained me, one day you'll be like, are you sure you gave birth to me? But still, from those things, you will still sit down. It's all about, it's like when you have a lot of information, you process it and then pick the ones that you feel that it really applies to your life. I don't feel like, the way we were brought up was totally bad. And also, I feel like really we should cut our parents some slack, because the kind of information that we have access to now, the kind of empowerment that women even have now with, the whole, agenda about, ensuring that women get a place, they get a voice and all of that. This has really helped. Now, it has, in a way, it has really increased the way that we also quest for knowledge and quest for bettering ourselves. Because then you look at like I said, you look at your husband and you be like, would I want my daughter to marry him with, maybe he's dealing with something, and then, so you now look at your children and see how you can actually make that right. So I don't think the way that we were brought up was totally bad. It's just that some of our parents, there's a lot of ego. I had a conversation with somebody recently and we talked about how, she's had some stuff, and I'm like, I think you go and talk to your mom and really tell her that she needs to apologize to you. And she was like,
girls, because I should tell my mom to apologize
exactly,
to me.
because I apologize to my children. So when you get to that point, you even help them be better people. So they know that when they've done something wrong, don't let ego take the place of, humanity, the place of being kind to people. If you've done something wrong, apologize to people. And that's what our parents did. That's the one that I am very, I feel like some of them these days, even when we have conversations, they are saying, oh, we're not close, I want to be close to you, what have I done wrong? Now I've told you what you've done wrong. Are you going to fix it, or you're going to let ego take over? So that's just the major issue that I see with African parenting. There's a lot of ego, there's a lot of, there's this word I say to people, I said, the days of Eminimobie in Yoruba means, oh, I'm your mother, you have to do my bidding. It's gone. Those days have passed. Wow. You're going to lose your kid. You can't train children, the children that are exposed to social media. No, you can't train them like that.
You know what, I'm glad you're bringing up social media, because yesterday, as it was Universal Children's Day, we saw that a lot of young children were asked to take over social media profiles for a number of, brands and platforms and so forth. How are you conditioning your children to this new era, with access to social media, YouTube, because it's not just social media, it's just even just the access the internet gives you. Even if you say you're not allowed to have Instagram, most schools now in cities have internet connectivity. So your children can still go and sit in the school library and Google, check, and they don't have to be on Twitter or Instagram. How are you navigating those waters? Okay,
so my children, they have a YouTube channel.
Oh, yes. Okay.
They have a YouTube channel where they share things like, games, toys, things that they learn from me that they just want to share with the world and all of that. And then the other one is learning how to play football. So we put all of that into that content. But with controlling social media, like I said, coming in from the point of control is always ends in tears. So you have to come from the point of, this is what is good for you. And then as you progress in age, you would have more access to this. They know that, okay, this is the limit. You have to explain to them, let them understand. So it's literally like you have two options, and then, but you, the parent, you are the one who literally, curated the two options. Then you hand them the two options, make them feel like they're in control. So Adam, are you going to do this now, or you're going to do this? Both of them are still within my own, my own control, but then he has an option to choose. So he feels like he's part of it. He's not being forced. So that when they have an opportunity, maybe when you're not there and he has access to it, he's not going to go and do what he's not supposed to do. So you allow them with boundaries.
Okay, yes, because that's what I want to understand. Because, earlier you said you can't interact with the children who have access to social media by saying, you should do this because I'm your mother and I told you so. So what are those boundaries where you now draw the line and say, because at the end of the day, I am your mother and you should do what I tell you to do. So what are the social media or the access to information boundaries so that your children aren't exposed to whatever content makes them feel like your mother doesn't matter, your parents don't matter?
Don't matter. Okay, so with some of the things, even with TV, with some of the things they watch on TV, I took out time. I literally know every one of the shows that they're exposed to. I mean, we live in England. There's a lot of access to this. So I watch with them, and then when I'm watching, I'm not watching the way they are watching. I'm watching with intention to actually pick out whatever is wrong. And then when I notice something, I sit them down, be like, Adam, did you hear what that guy just said? Oh, mommy, he said that bad word. Okay, so we're not going to watch this. So you bring them in, let them understand, here are the boundaries. These are the things that are not good for you right now. Because they ask you, mommy, so why is it not good for me? You literally have to explain. Because if you're not doing the explanation, the internet or outsiders, they will do explanation beyond the point you want your children to know. So I take it upon myself to actually explain these things. Adam, these kind of things, if you get exposed to this is what's going to happen. And this is not good for you at this age. So we have the time where we watch this. We have what time we watch this, and then so I also use parental control on YouTube and all of those things that you have access to kind of like restrict, because adverts and all those videos popping up,
it can take you.
I'm telling you, so you have to put in all of those little controls that technology allows you to do, and then you do the human interaction. Then you do the human interaction.
Toyosi, what I love most about this, we need to round up now, but what I love most about my conversation with you is that you've taken away from, I grew up with, and we still laugh about it today, I grew up with two parents who always told me that I'm not your friend. I'm your mother, I'm your father, I'm not your friend. That was a very common statement in our household, but you've taken the stance of friendship. Exactly. With your children, and I think that's absolutely incredible, and I'm glad you're seeing the results of it. So final word, we literally have 30 seconds, so if you were to sum up the era we're in with children and how best to create an environment in Africa that will build children who are going to become pioneers for tomorrow's Africa, how would you sum that up?
Let kids be kids, be their friends. It's important that you establish that relationship with your children so that nothing slips under your nose. That's basically it. It's important. Just have that in your mind that you have to be their friend, so that even when they get into trouble, you're the first person they run to, so that you can fix it. Because if they get fixed outside, it's worse off.
True. Very true. Wow. Very powerful stuff. Okay. And I'm taking notes. My kids are coming soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Vimbai.
It's been incredible.